Imagine being stripped of your dignity, locked in a room with no clothes, no food, and no freedom for an entire year, all while millions of people watch you suffer and laugh. This isn't fiction. It's the true story of Nasubi, a man who became the victim of one of the most disturbing reality TV shows in history. Stay with me, because what happened to him will break your heart and make you question humanity. In 1998, Japan launched a disturbing live show that turned into the most painful chapter of a man named Nasubi's life. The show subjected Nasubi to complete isolation, broadcasted live on national television, where he was forced to eat dog food. Shockingly, all of Japan watched, entertained by his suffering. But believe me, this was just the beginning. Nasubi was confined to a small room for 335 days, enduring relentless torture so intense that even watching it could leave you traumatized. Why did this happen to Nasubi? Why did no one in Japan protest against such inhumane treatment? Let's delve into the heartbreaking story of Nasubi. Nasubi was a struggling stand-up comedian with a dream of making it big. Life wasn't going well for him until he heard about a TV show that offered a chance at fame. Seeing this as his golden opportunity, Nasubi auditioned and was selected. He believed the show would bring him the recognition and success he needed to boost his comedy career. The show was called Susanoo Denpa Shonen, which translates to Life of Prizes. The producers explained the rules to Nasubi. He had to win items through sweepstakes, lottery-style contests, to accumulate goods worth 1 million yen. But here's the catch. Nasubi had to survive solely on the items he won. This included food, clothes, and everything else required for basic survival. When the show began, Nasubi was stripped of his clothes, symbolizing a fresh start.
マジパンツなんですかうわいいんですか嘘それなんか違くないですかちょっとこうはいマジっすか
His real name wasn't even used. Nasubi means eggplant, a nickname given by the producers. They censored his private parts with a cartoonish eggplant overlay, which moved along with him. From that day, Nasubi was confined to a bare room, unable to leave until he met the 1 million yen target. Every basic necessity, food, entertainment, even clothing, had to be earned through sweepstakes. The audience watched as he suffered day after day, and instead of sympathizing, they laughed at his misery. This wasn't just a reality show, it was a cold business move. The creators exploited an innocent man's dream, turning him into a national joke for profit. Instead of crafting creative or inspiring content, they chose to abuse and degrade Nasubi. What happened during those 335 days? How did Nasubi endure such extreme torment? And why did society allow this to happen? Let's uncover the full story behind one of the darkest chapters in reality television history. The show began, and Nasubi was locked inside a bare room, instructed to remove all his clothes. Obediently, he stripped down, marking the start of his harrowing journey. Nasubi's first challenge was survival, but his immediate need was clothing. However, do you know what his first prize from the sweepstakes was? Fiber jelly. This small detail exposed the producer's cruel intentions. Despite Nasubi explicitly requesting clothing, specifically an apron, the show deliberately denied him that necessity. Instead, they handed him fiber jelly, making it evident they didn't want him clothed. The producers believed the show would lose its appeal if Nasubi was dressed. After winning Fiber Jelly, Nasubi continued filing sweepstakes entries for weeks, hoping for something useful. Yet reward after reward eluded him. Now imagine this, being trapped in a room with no entertainment, no human interaction, and not a single piece of clothing. Cameras monitored Nasubi 24/7, stripping him of any remaining sense of privacy. The isolation was crushing, and the only glimmer of hope was the sound of the doorbell, signaling a potential prize or communication. Every time the doorbell rang, Nasubi's heart would race with excitement. Perhaps it was news from the outside world, an update about the game, or even a new prize. But more often than not, his hopes were cruelly shattered. Sometimes a delivery man arrived only to tell Nasubi he needed to put a nameplate on his mailbox. Other times it was a food delivery gone to the wrong address. These moments, engineered by the producers, were designed to break him further, revealing the extent of their malice. Finally, after a long and grueling wait, Nasubi won 5 kilograms of rice. It was a monumental victory for him, and he was ecstatic, until reality hit. The rice was useless without a pot to cook it in. Though he had a stove, he had no utensils. Desperate and starving, Nasubi tried eating the raw rice. But how much could a person endure like this? Yet Nasubi didn't give up. He demonstrated remarkable ingenuity, a true example of human resilience. He repurposed the container from the fiber jelly he had previously won. Filling it with water and rice, he placed it near the stove's flame, careful not to let it burn. Slowly, the rice cooked, and for the first time in weeks, Nasubi ate something substantial. This small victory showcased his determination to survive, even in the face of unimaginable adversity. But behind this victory lay the question, how far would the producers go to exploit Nasubi's suffering? His life in that room was a testament to resilience, but it also served as a chilling reminder of the lengths some will go to for entertainment and profit. 2 months had passed in Nasubi's confinement, and he had filled out around 11,000 to 12,000 sweepstakes entries. Finally, he won his first clothing item, but it was used panties belonging to a woman named Hitomi-chan. Can you imagine how mentally torturous this experience was for Nasubi? Despite having won the panties, he couldn't even wear them because they were too small. This was another cruel tactic by the producers. They didn't want Nasubi to wear any clothes at all. Picture the helplessness he must have felt when he couldn't even put on this prize. Nasubi was literally struggling for survival, and this desperate fight to stay alive had become the entertainment of the entire nation. But things got even worse. His next prize, a PlayStation controller in a game, might seem like a victory at first, but it was another form of torture. He didn't have the console or the TV to use them with, rendering the prize entirely useless. As the months passed, Nasubi's mental health continued to deteriorate. The producers had hired a doctor, but the doctor's sole purpose was to make sure Nasubi didn't die. Nothing more. They didn't check on his mental state or whether he was physically unwell. They just wanted to ensure he stayed alive to continue the show. Then Nasubi was sent a dog food package, and this was framed as a gift. Can you imagine receiving dog food as a gift? Yet this was the cruel reality of Nasubi's situation. By the 6th month of the show's airing, it had become so popular that fans and media outlets managed to locate the apartment where Nasubi was being filmed. The producers, fearing the attention, decided to relocate Nasubi. One night, while Nasubi was asleep, they entered his room, shocked him, and blindfolded him before taking him to a new location. When Nasubi's blindfold was removed, he was told he had been moved for good luck. In reality, it was just another tactic to try and refresh the show, which was beginning to lose its momentum. Nasubi was in a state of complete shock. His mind had been clouded by isolation for so long that his basic cognitive abilities were impaired. Upon moving to the new location, he filled out 17,000 sweepstakes entries. However, as the show continued to lose popularity, the producers shifted him again to a new location. This time, the change was actually fortunate for Nasubi. He began winning prizes faster and got much closer to his goal. He eventually won a VHS player. At first, Nasubi was thrilled, but then he realized he had no VHS tapes to use it with, another useless prize. But things finally took a turn when he won a PlayStation. Now he had the controller, the game, the TV, and the console. After 10 months without any form of entertainment, Nasubi finally had something to enjoy. For 4 days, he played the PlayStation continuously, and it was all being live-streamed for the viewers' entertainment. Nasubi's long journey had been one of unimaginable suffering, with the producers pushing him to the edge of human endurance, all for the sake of entertainment. His experience is a harrowing reminder of how far people can go to exploit others for profit. For 4 days, Nasubi played PlayStation non-stop, and this incident became a pivotal moment in history. He unknowingly became the first ever video game streamer in the world, a concept that wasn't even familiar at the time. The whole of Japan watched as he played continuously, and this set the stage for modern-day gaming streams. On the 5th day, Nasubi made a conscious decision to stop playing. He realized that if he kept playing, he wouldn't have time to fill out sweepstakes entries. And without doing that, he wouldn't be able to leave the room. So he got back to filing his sweepstakes entries. Over time, Nasubi crossed the 1 million yen threshold, which was his goal, but the producers deliberately withheld this information from him. Their aim was to keep the show running longer and make more money from Nasubi's struggle. This was truly an evil move by the producers. However, one night, they suddenly informed Nasubi that he had indeed won. They took him to amusement parks and other places to celebrate his victory. But just as Nasubi was beginning to feel some relief, the producers blindfolded him again and took him to another location. When the blindfold was removed, Nasubi found himself in a familiar room, the same room he had been trapped in for months. The producers couldn't accept that the show had come to an end. They were still eager to make more money from him. In their twisted logic, they decided to extend the show by sending Nasubi to Korea and having him file sweepstakes to raise money for a flight ticket back to Japan. Can you imagine how evil this is? A man who had been desperately trying to escape for months was now being exploited even further. The producers knew Nasubi's innocence and took full advantage of it. Nasubi, however, had grown much stronger mentally throughout the experience. His speed and efficiency in filling out sweepstakes had improved immensely. He quickly met the new threshold and earned the flight ticket to Japan. But the producers weren't done yet. They decided to create a new challenge, stating that Nasubi deserved a business-class flight ticket for all the hard work he had done. Of course, he had to continue working for it. Nasubi's journey had gone from an innocent man desperately trying to survive to someone who had mastered the system of the show. The producers, in their greed, underestimated him, but Nasubi's resilience became a turning point in his own survival and in the twisted history of this show's production. Nasubi continued filling out sweepstakes, determined to win a business-class flight ticket. After breaking his threshold again, the producers added another challenge: first-class tickets. Nasubi, unfazed, kept filing sweepstakes, and soon he had reached his target and was finally able to travel from Korea back to Japan. When Nasubi arrived in Japan, the producers once again blindfolded him and took him to a familiar room. As the blindfold was removed, Nasubi realized he was back in the same space he had spent so many months in. His clothes started to fall off as the room began to crumble around him, and soon he was sitting amidst piles of clothes, surrounded by cheering people. The moment was supposed to be a celebration, but the sensory overload Nasubi must have felt at that point was unimaginable. After months of isolation, human interaction, and deprivation, he was now in front of a crowd of thousands, completely vulnerable. It was incredibly humiliating. At this moment, it's clear that the producers were more focused on making Nasubi's suffering into entertainment than ever. This story reflects how evil and manipulative business practices can exploit even the most innocent dreams. Nasubi entered the show with hopes of becoming a stand-up comedian, but his dreams were crushed. His entire identity was used, and his vulnerability became a tool for entertainment. The aftermath of this show was devastating for Nasubi. After the show ended, it took him 6 to 7 months to even wear clothes again because they felt so uncomfortable to him after being nude for so long. His communication skills, once aimed at making him a comedian, deteriorated. He could barely talk to anyone. His mental health had been shattered by the experience. His dream was destroyed, and the damage was irreversible. When asked if the producers regretted their actions, their response was chilling. "We just make miracles happen." They had no remorse for what they had done. The show, which had captivated millions of viewers, aired during a time when many people didn't even have TVs. While Nasubi was promised fame and success, what he actually received was embarrassment and deep mental trauma. This tale shows how the pursuit of profits, at the expense of humanity, can leave long-lasting scars on individuals.